Hello and welcome to another episode of Disaster Empire. I'm Ashley Gooseman, and this is the podcast where we talk to thought leaders and innovators in resilience. And so I am thrilled to have Howard Mannella here with me today. We can see and hear each other, which is great. We had some technical issues, but we are live. So great to have you here, Howard. And I'm really excited to talk to you today about executive level risk and resilience strategy. So welcome to the program. Thank you so much for jumping on.
It's a privilege, Ashley. Thank you.
Excellent. Hey, let's dive right in. So I want to talk to you about your experience and, in your estimation, what are senior executives and boards most concerned about right now?
Okay, the C-suite, they're a different animal than the rest of us, and understanding that is really key to success. They speak a different language. They care about their employees, but they don't care about earthquakes or tsunamis. They're not afraid of pandemics because they think that being resilient is, well, now everybody can work from home, so we must be resilient. They're not afraid of terrorists. I'll tell you who they are afraid of, though. They're afraid of plaintiffs' attorneys and the board. Protect your execs from those risks, and you'll always have their ears and their wallets. And let's talk about how we can do that.
How can business continuity and resilience programs really best align with their boards and with their executives?
Build a program and communicate this that enables them to demonstrate, here are the magic words, to demonstrate a standard of due care and be able to mount an affirmative defense. These are specific legal terms that the C-suite understands, especially your chief legal officer.
As we're talking about those concerns of our executives, of boards, share with this audience how they can help to reduce risk and enhance resilience for their employer. So as you're talking about, they're not as interested in the natural disasters or concerned about some of the big hazards that you and I might be thinking about, but they're certainly interested, you said, about lawsuits. They're concerned about, market fluctuations, et cetera. So what do you think we should be looking at in order to help our business and our executives?
Okay, let me define those terms, though, for your audience. The ability to mount an affirmative defense and a standard of due care, those are specific legal terms. This means that there's a big difference between appearing in court at the shareholder or board level class action suit following a business outage and being able to say, Your Honor, we had a program that was built to industry standards. We took prudent measures. It just didn't work as well as it could have. That's very different from, Your Honor, we thought that everybody could work from home. That's the protection for your executives. As far as how they can reduce risk and enhance resilience for their employees, firstly, it starts with the tone at the top. Employees will take seriously what their leaders take seriously. When I ran the first forced building evacuation and forced live fire business continuity plan activation in the history of San Francisco, the first one out of the building, once we hit the fire alarm, was the president of the company. That's the tone at the top. When we opened the standby emergency work center out in the suburbs in San Ramon, the first one there was the president of the company. That's the tone at the top. Secondly, practitioners have to help their leadership understand that the cost of resiliency is part of good corporate hygiene. Don't cut corners, don't build single points of failure into your org, and build resiliency and anti-fragility into the entire company chain from soup to nuts. That's how you reduce risk and enhance resiliency in the organization.
Howard, thank you for that. And I think it provides good insight into how, as you said, the C-suite is thinking right now and how executives can help lead and support our programs, right, by really modeling good practice behavior. So now I'm going to ask you a question that I ask all of my guests, and that is, what does resilience mean to you?
Resilience doesn't mean it won't happen. Resilience also does not mean that you have a plan. Plans are great. Resilience is the ability of the organization, and that goes from the receptionist to the office of the CFO, to absorb a business gut punch and still be able to deliver value, and then you can pick up the pieces afterwards. Resiliency isn't resistance.
I like that definition. And I'd like to dive deeper into some of what you've been sharing. So, in your opinion, as we're talking to our peers here on this podcast, how can they help stand up or start developing a resiliency program if they haven't already?
I'd say you start small, take the small wins. The term creeping commitment is kind of shop worn, but it's relevant here. You don't have to be perfect, and rolling out the big program with all the administrivia will cause executives' eyes to roll into the back of their heads, and they'll just tune out. Get something together, even if it's rudimentary. Get a checklist together. Start with a really thinned down BIA, and there's thought in the industry about whether a BIA is still relevant nowadays. Yeah. But start small and Kaizen, load the bases and bunt. Get the wins, demonstrate it works, and then build it.
So another thing that I'd like to ask you, as we're talking about getting into the minds of executives and how they, as you said at the top, how they think differently than we do, certainly their role is strategic decision making for the company as a whole. So how can we really best position our program strategically so we're thinking about the near and long term and aligning with that executive thinking?
I think the key word is value, but it's important to understand value for whom? The practitioner or your stakeholders. The way forward to build a program that delivers value to the C-suite, not value to you that you can talk about it at a conference or you can show how busy your office is. The value to the C-suite is to focus on what's important to them. They're not interested in aligning the RTO to the RPO and the BIA to optimize MTTR. Just stop all of that. Tie your program to business results. If you want to get executives' attention and build a program that will resonate with them, talk about how having a low-risk business can shave a couple of basis points off the cost of capital. That's business speak. Talk about how the cost of the program can underwrite their business interruption insurance premiums. I've seen organizations where the program pays for itself more than once over in just the reduction in BI premiums. Talk about how the cost of being a low-risk partner can provide a differentiating value proposition to their customers and drive sales, conversions, retention. That's value. As far as the near and long term, let's talk about how practitioners best position themselves. First of all, stop being a geek. If I see one more business card with Master of Disaster in a title and a picture of the Twin Towers, I can't be held responsible for my actions. Drop the acronyms, no more geek speak, and speak English. Better yet, speak execlish. Go up to the executive floor, sit in front of the coffee table in the reception area, and read the magazines that are on the coffee table. That's what they're reading. Put yourself into their mindset and use their language. Put down the copy of Resilience Monthly and start reading American Banker for crying.
Yeah, I think all of that is great insight and really, as I've talked about too, like understanding the overall objectives of the organization, aligning with that. And that really starts at, as you said, really understanding the mind of executives, speaking in their language and working to support their long-term goals for the company and aligning with that, I think makes all a great deal of sense. So as we wrap up today, is there anything else that you wanted to share with the audience that we didn't get a chance to talk about yet?
Little quick bio about me. Born and raised in the East Coast, Wall Street, Big Four, internet, consulting. Worked in or visited 30 countries and counting. My hobbies include flying airplanes, sailing, competitive handgun, and brewing beer, which means I can only do one hobby at a time. I've cheated death 3 times, and I always strive to be half the man my dog thinks I am.
Love that. Hey, how can people connect with you if they're not already? Is LinkedIn the best place?
LinkedIn is the best place. My website, www.alternativeresiliency.com, or just drive down to South Texas. We'd love to have you.
I'd love to visit up here from the Northeast. Well, hey, we have that in common, certainly from our backgrounds. And it's been so great to have you on the program. Really appreciate you sharing your thoughts on this particular subject because I think it's so important for us to be thinking Not, as you said, just about the jargon and the way our programs are structured, but really how we're providing value to the organizations that we work in today. Hey, so Howard, before we close out, is there anything else that you wanted to share about your background or maybe a fun fact?
Let's see who in the audience gets the movie reference. I enjoy surfing, backgammon, and men who aren't afraid to cry.
All right. Thank you for that. Thank you so much for being here. Really enjoyed having you on the podcast.
Absolutely.